All right, and we are live. How's it going? I'll let some folks kind of enter the chat, but as you're waiting, first of all, anybody shows up, thank you. We got Mark Riddick and Lucas Korte joining today. So this is the third installment of live drawing, and everyone's kind of been doing their own thing this go around. And please, anybody who's watching, feel free to comment in the chat. You know, tell us if you're an artist. Tell us any albums you're listening to. We're just having like a conversation with everybody beyond just the three of us.
Lucas, what's on your shirt? Is that a pus head? I saw the top of it.
Yeah, it's septic death boot.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I saw the little corner piece with the and I was like, oh, that kind of looks like pus head.
That's definitely it's definitely a pus head.
Where's pus head based out of? Is he American?
Washington State.
Yeah. So they were from Idaho. Septic Death were from Idaho. They're out of Boise. I don't know if that's where he still lives. The bass player for my band is he's like in the club, the whatever the club for Pusshead, where like they get special invites to when he does like shows in New York and stuff. So I know he does a lot of stuff in New York City because I know Jeff was just out there like last month for some Pusshead thing.
Oh,
so, okay. I don't know if he's still in Boise though. I know that's where the band was from.
Cool.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Well, what have you been listening to lately, Mark?
Dude, I knew you were gonna ask that.
I could scratch the question from the record if you want.
No, I pulled some stuff out because I'm like a lot of my stuff's in my car, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I mean, I should probably grab a few things out of my car just in case, because I know Lee's gonna ask me that question.
Yeah, I'm open to any topics.
Yeah, let me grab a couple of things that I've been spinning. Some of them I haven't listened to yet. Because it arrived in the mail recently and I haven't had a chance to spin. Like this is I think this is Slough. It's a band called Slough. I believe they're Danish.
That's cool.
7-inch EP. From Extremely Rotten Productions, David Mickelson's label. Also, the new Morbific EP just came in the mail.
Oh, nice.
Pretty cool artwork. Cool artwork on both of them. And cassette-wise, I've been still listening to this Ganglion and Blood Curdling split release from Iron Fortress. I think I talked about that last time I was on here. It's amazing. And this just came in the mail the other day from Ken, from Ken's Death Metal Crypt. He had an extra copy of this Grave Ghoul. It's I think it's a solo project of an individual from the UK. It's on the Italian label Dismal Fate. This is actually really good. I really enjoyed that. So that's a new find. I just listened to it this morning. This is an old one. You might know this one, Lucas. It's an old Bay Area band called Vicious Rumors.
Yeah, I just heard them.
Yeah, so I just picked this one up because I'd heard about them in the past and I just never listened to them. But it's a really good blend of kind of like what you would get from the Bay Area scene around that time. It's like a mix between glam, hard rock, traditional heavy metal, and speed metal. So it's kind of like it rides that fine line between both styles. It's really good songwriting. Great singing, great guitar solos. I already have like a bootleg of this, but I wanted to get a more official version. This is a Darkness Shall Rise, which I believe is a German label version of the Desultory demos, the Swedish death metal band. Probably one of my favorite Swedish death metal bands. Their demos. I used to have one of them, but I gave it to Craig from Hell's Headbangers because he's a huge Desultory fan. So it's like, here, you can have my copy of the demo. Because I already had it on a bootleg CD, but then I found this version too, which is cool. More Swedish death metal, Christian Whalen, the artist Necrolord, his old band, Liars in Wait, had that on heavy rotation, their EP. Really, really ahead of its time, kind of death metal, you know. Next one, I only have two more that I'll share because I know it's a lot. This is a Romanian band called Necrotum. and they've got a handful of releases, but this one in particular is probably one of my favorites by them. It's I had it on like a box, a cassette box with 3 of their albums that Ken from Ken's Death Metal Crypt sent to me a while back, and I liked it so much. I picked up the CD. The CD was published by Raul from Memento Mori in Spain, his label, and it's really good. It's kind of like the guitar playing is more on like the higher register of notes, so it's a little bit different than what you normally get with death metal. So it's quite entertaining. And the last one's a Entombed worship band called Coffin Mulch, and that's really good. It's got the Brad Moore cover artwork on there.
Very cool.
What about you guys? What are you listening to?
That's a heavy stack, man. I really like the Neon Nightmare album that came out. It's kind of in the vein of like Typo Negative. It's Nate Garrett's solo project.
20 bucks spin?
20 bucks spin, yeah. Been a really big fan of that. I always get in typo type moods in the fall, so it's been really good. Just kind of been floating around with a lot of stuff too. I mean, New Blood Incantation I'm still listening to because I'm seeing them on Monday.
Oh, cool.
Actually, I'm going to be hanging out with your friend Lucas, your Jake.
Jake, yeah, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
we're gonna meet up at the show, so that should be fun.
Right. That's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good people. He's very good people. You'll like him.
Yeah,
he was my good friend when I was at Notre Dame. We met.
Very nice.
We met in the grad program there. He's an amazing potter. He is like amazing ceramicist. Like he can do shit with clay that is like unbelievable. But when he was at Notre Dame, he was like doing this like more like fabrication where he was like making like these things like they're props for a movie, but it was like this post-apocalyptic. It was fucking crazy. Like he like built like 4-barreled shotguns and like crazy sledgehammers and stuff, like shit that would be like Fallout 4. And did this whole like he invented this character that he dressed up as. It was really fucking cool. So he's a really cool guy, really creative dude. Yeah, I love him. He's a great guy.
Who's opening for Blood Incantation?
A band called Midwife that I'm not familiar with at all.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's just a 2-band bill. I mean, I hope Blood Incantation has a long set. So I think they'll probably do something like big suites of one of the albums and playing all the way through and stuff. I saw some like their stage props look pretty neat.
Okay. Yeah, I picked up the new album. I haven't. It hasn't arrived yet, but it sounded pretty unique, like different.
It might be too proggy for you, man. I don't know.
No, I mean I'm okay with that. Yeah, I've got that Comus record. You can't get weirder than that.
True. What have you been listening to, Lucas?
Yeah, I would second that. I just recently finally got a chance to sit down with the new Blood Incantation. I haven't pulled the trigger on buying it just yet, but yeah, like I like it quite a bit. I think my hard favorite for them was actually Star Spawn. I think this comes in a pretty close second for me. So
yeah,
yeah, I just haven't had a chance to actually buy it yet. But other shit, I don't not too much on the table. Been going back and kind of revisiting some stuff from last year that I didn't, for whatever reason, I kind of slept on a little bit. Been listening to that Torture Rack record from last year. Really like that one. I listened to it once last year and then I didn't go back to it. And then I kind of was like, revisit that record. Really dig it. Been listening to that Nuevo Testamento record that came out last year as well. I kind of slept on that one, and then it's like as good as the first one, so it's awesome. I really like it a lot. I have been listening to some Huey.
Nice.
Quite a bit lately. I don't know, just in the mood for it, so I'm jamming some Huey. I picked this up recently. This is like a Norwegian band by I think the dudes were in Obliteration, maybe, and
this one.
I think they played in R Noir a little bit. Yeah, that LP. That's the one I'm talking about.
I was listening to that last week, actually. So
it's really good. So this record, Avmakt, it's just like it's kind of just Norwegian black metal. It's kind of the style I really like. It's like got really idiosyncratic songwriting. Cool. Got kind of a nice, not quite super lo-fi, not like totally raw, but a kind of nice lo-fi recording. The drums sound really fucking good, in my opinion.
I like Obliteration. You said it's members of Obliteration.
Yeah, I think it's two of the guys from Obliteration who played in R Noir for a little bit.
Okay.
And it's just a duo. It's just the two guys in this band. It's just two
All
dudes.
right.
It came out in Peaceville this summer, and
Cool.
I kind of checked it out, and I liked the one song they were teasing, so I was like, I'll pull the trigger on it. So I've been listening to that. I don't know, a little cringy or whatever. But I've been listening to 1349 a little bit.
Okay.
Is that the new one?
I
or
like
is that an
them.
old
You
one?
know, this is their record from 2019 that I've been listening to, and
Okay.
I think I might like it more than even their previous stuff, which I typically like quite a bit. The songwriting's like way weirder on this. It's like very, I don't want to say spastic, but they definitely like change pace and tempo quite a bit in the songs this time around.
I don't think
Very
I have.
cool. I mean,
but-
Frost's drumming is absolutely fucking insane on this record. So, I don't know. I have friends make fun of me. They're like, you're like stadium black metal. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. I saw them. I saw
They play
1349 play to
small
12
venues.
So I've seen them play to 12 people at the Majestic in Detroit. So like I'm not sure what people are talking about. They're like stadium. So they literally play to like enough people to just lean on the stage while they were playing. Like, and that was the rest of the fucking venue was completely empty. It was them and Triptychon. There were like 12 people at that fucking show.
Wow.
And they like, you know, they played their fucking hearts out. They played like they were playing to a packed room. And they were like really cool about it, you know. So
That's cool.
and I've been listening to some little Billy Ocean lately.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
Just to smooth things out, you know.
Yeah.
Little Caribbean Queen, you know.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So for everybody watching, we're gonna try to keep it to 2 hours, so about an hour and 50 minutes left. With that being said, I say we go ahead and get going. So they're gonna switch their cameras around. This camera here, where I'm shaking my hand, that's mine. While they're getting set up, I'll go ahead and talk through what I'm gonna be working on, and then when they're set up, we'll kind of do around the table, and
I gotta share my
do
chair.
that.
Oh man.
What's your cat's name?
Macy?
Oh,
My member.
so cute.
She's a fat cat. Oh yes, yes. I said you're a fat cat. Yes.
Yeah, so what I'm working on here, I did some like loose pencils today. I'm not used to this webcam here, but very comic book inspired, like kind of pulp sci-fi. So specifically, this artist named Alex Nino, he's still working today. He is an elder statesman in comics, though. But he's a very unique style, really good shape designer. And specifically, there's this book from the 80s called Space Clusters. It's not really a great comic story, but the art is just like bonkers and psychedelic. And this is very inspired by Space Clusters.
That's cool.
So I'm definitely doing like, I want to call it a study because I made up the composition, but it is very much like an homage, and it'll be a bit different than like my normal style, but of course that'll shine through. But I'm going to do a lot of like, I don't know, just blocking in pretty large areas with ink and just trying to make it feel dramatic and high contrast. So that's going to be my goal with this piece. I know it's a little blown out, but that's one reason I wanted to do inking, because I figured it would show up better.
Great composition on that too, by the way. The diagonal composition where it starts with a planet, moves your eye straight down to the foreground right there on the bottom right. Nicely
Thanks, man.
done.
Yeah, it's definitely like just trying to get an interesting silhouette. And I had to kind of cut back to, even now it's still a little bit crazy, but it was a little too much and I shaved a bit off.
I was hoping to do something like a one-off for this too, but I'm like, no, I've got too many loose ends to deal with to start something new, you know. So
talk about what you got here, Mark.
I'm doing a lot of stuff right now. I'm just trying to wrap up a batch of illustrations for Lip Service 1985. They're an old gothic, like hard rock glam kind of sleaze fashion brand, and they're still around. They started in 85, hence the name, and I think they got their claim to fame in the early 90s when some hard rockers like Axl Rose and Bret Michaels started wearing their products, and that kind of put them in the limelight. And then they just started getting better distribution and more storefront activity. So they kind of had a lull because the owner passed away, and It's been back in business, I think, for the last few years, and I've done a lot of stuff with them in the past. So I'm just wrapping up a couple pieces they commissioned from me, and just trying to get those completed this week, just so they can get it, get rolling on the production. But yeah, so mostly just screen graphics. I got a logo. I might try to throw together really fast for the Czechia, a label in Czechia, and I have another piece that you can't really see. It's a blue line I just printed of the sketch, but I might get started on that. So we'll see. It depends how far along I get on this. So we have this is the front facing side. It has
Wow, that's awesome,
the
Mark.
lip service branding on it, and then the back of the product will have the shoulder blades and the spine and all that. So I'm just trying to get the inks done. Hopefully get this knocked out in the next 2 hours or sooner.
Very
What about
neat, man.
Lucas? What are you working on? Is Lucas here?
Oh, I am going. Can you guys see this? Okay, does everything look okay?
1 second. There we go. Let me blow you up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if
Yeah,
you tilt your phone, Horde, well, that wouldn't be any better. Yeah, this is good.
I can see your sketch.
Okay. So I'm gonna be doing a watercolor today. Here's my concept sketch real quick. Just I laid out earlier just to get the idea down.
That's nuts.
So I'm gonna try to make a painting out of it. I haven't been getting to paint as much as I like. I thought tonight would be a good opportunity to try to do that, and I tried to start from as early in the process as possible with this piece. So I've really just laid out the barest outlines of the sketch just so I could make sure that everything fits on the picture plane. I didn't want to be messing around with getting it to fit on camera, but I'm going to do a bit of the sketch under the underdrawing, and then I'm going to start painting a little bit. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool. Now, Lucas, when you work, do you start light, or how do you attack watercolor? What's your
Yeah, I'll be starting with like a base color layer that'll probably be fairly light, and then I'll be slowly working darker, and getting more details in as I go. So, and I'm thinking color scheme wise, I kind of have in my head, I'm thinking like kind of ochre for the skull bits,
cool.
And then some like Payne's gray for these little like spider legs sticking out of it, and probably some purple and indigo or purple and blue for like the little cosmic horror tentacles and stuff coming out of it. Maybe a little bit of pink here and there, but not too much. So something that's sort of like mostly on one side of the color wheel. You got your ochre and your purple being kind of complementary, but then you've got like kind of blues and greens that are kind of on the cool side, and with a little bit of red. So we'll see how that works. It should be fine. I'm thinking it should be fine. I'm gonna get started on finishing this underdrawing.
And for anybody in the chat, we got a lot of fellow artists here, which is awesome. That's definitely I don't know, something that I always love about this channel is people always being able to kind of like, work on their stuff while listening. Like whenever I hear people talk about that, it's music to my ears, because that's what I do. I put on a podcast and I work. So if you guys are drawing along, let me know, and you can also tag me in stories, or Mark or Lucas. But it'd be cool for it to be all 20 of us, with the 17 of you guys in the chat, and then the 3 of us here. So thank you for spending your Saturday night with us.
Yeah. Rad.
Lucas, are you doing a background on your painting at all, or you're just doing the subject matter itself?
I am going to. So I had a specific idea for what I wanted to use it for, and so if I'm going to do that with it, it needs to not have a background on it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're actually going to be it's not just for fun and play. You're actually.
Yeah, I might actually use this. I have an idea for what I might want to do with it. So I needed to, and I made it kind of worked out, because I'm like, well, that way I don't have to worry too much about putting a background on it, because this piece, kind of for it to work, needs to just be the white of the paper, so I can just like crop it out in Photoshop later.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then I could stick it down on top of something else, which is kind of what the plan is.
You have do you have a scanner at home? A scanning bed?
Yep, I do.
Okay.
I have a little Epson scanner.
What size does it go up to?
It is a 9x12.
Okay.
And technically it's a 9x12. For whatever reason, the bed, even though it fits a 9x12 piece of paper, it only scans like 8x11.5 or something. There's like the whole left side of it doesn't scan anything, like for like a quarter of an inch, almost to a half inch. So I have to like, even if I'm doing something that's 9x12, I have to scan it in 2 pieces and stitch it together in Photoshop. It's very annoying.
I have a similar issue sometimes, or it's just super blurry on the edges.
Yeah, no, this one just cuts off. It is a hard cut off. It just doesn't scan anything beyond like 8.5 inches or something. So the edges of things get cut off. It really, I mean, I have to scan everything in slices and stitch it together. It's not that big a deal, but it is like kind of a time suck sometimes. Not my favorite thing to spend my time doing, but
yeah. I hear
now when people talk about like AI for art, now that's something I wish they would do, is like a tool in Photoshop that will stitch your drawing together. You know, you might have to run it a couple times to get it to work properly, but you know, it'd like be way faster than having to do this by hand. Because it's not like when I have to stitch, it's not like it's not a testament to my skill stitching shit together in Photoshop. It's just drudgery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't give a shit about it. Like let a fucking AI program do that shit.
Yeah.
I want it to draw the drawing for me. I want it to like just fix my 2 slices together, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But
that
anyway.
that would be a really positive use of AI for sure.
Exactly. That would be like an ideal use case for it.
Yeah.
For like an artist.
Save you the grunt work.
Yeah, save you the grunt work, you know? But yeah, so that's part of my workflow on like a weekly basis, is yelling at my computer, why don't these line up, over and over and over again.
Appreciate Orbital Death. It's very kind of you. I can read some of the comments, but some people are working along, and
oh, nice.
Grateful for you guys being here. So
yeah, hell yeah. It's hard to find a 2-hour window in my house to actually to work like this. So it's a nice break from parenting and other things. So
I definitely wanted this session just to be like, whatever you guys haven't had the time to do that you've wanted to, you like carve out that time for that. You know what I mean? Because like you're
that's
saying,
why I was like, you know what, I should just paint. I haven't had a chance to do it. My recent commissions haven't really given me any. I haven't had any painting commissions recently, so it's just been drawing. You know, just like wearing myself out with hatch marks and stuff. So it felt like it'd be nice to get some painting.
Yeah, I
do a little piece.
Sorry, what's that, Lee?
No, I'm just talking to myself. I'm trying to do 2 things at once, both draw and give little updates on where everybody is by popping them up.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I would love to sit down and kind of do something on my own volition. Every once in a while I've been making more time for it, just for the self-branding purposes, but getting hit with rush jobs, last minute. I was hoping to have this stuff done a couple of days ago, and rush jobs kind of put these on the sidelines. So
yeah.
Otherwise, it would be cool to like pick up a paintbrush, which I haven't done in a while too. So maybe one day.
It's been weeks for me since I even thought about doing something for myself. Like I've just been kind of sucked into all these other projects for other people.
Yeah,
it makes it sometimes like it gets to the point where like you can't even think about I don't even want to pick up a pen at the end of the day. Like that's when I go sit down, because I'm just been working on other people's stuff. It's like I'm grateful for the jobs, but there is something to be said. Like I also got into this because I have my own ideas that I want to see, take material form, as it were.
Yeah.
Sometimes working for other people. It's kind of funny, actually. I had I was going through my email because I got like a notification from Google that my email was almost full. I'm like, what the fuck? I just bought
What?
I just bought storage from Google like a year ago. I shouldn't have, my email shouldn't be full. So anyway, I'm going through the email to delete a bunch of crap, and I hit a period of about maybe 2013 to 2012.
Yeah.
And there was this period where Facebook would send you, like, any person that you followed, it would send you an email that they had posted with the whole post in the email.
Oh my
So
God.
I was like deleting all that shit because most of it's just useless crap. But I came across a post from Justin Bartlett.
Oh man, that's sad, dude. Really?
Yeah, it was kind of, it like hit me like, well, I didn't delete it actually. I kept that one in my email because I'm like, man, yeah, I want to keep that one. But the post, I like went and read it, and he was talking about having to turn down a bunch of big jobs because he would rather work on his own stuff at the moment. He's like, I have a whole bunch of stuff I'd rather do, and as much as it broke, he's like, broke my heart to turn down this Rotten Sound gig, and to turn down a gig for, I don't even remember, couple other bigger bands.
Yeah.
He's like, but I'm just burned out on working on other people's stuff all the time. I need to work on my own stuff. And I'm like, that kind of hit me right. Like I needed to hear that right at that moment too. You know what I mean? So
especially for him, I mean, his time was up sooner than anybody expected. And, he just, maybe there was some value in him being able to pause and do what he wanted to do, as opposed to, serving another customer. And
right.
Good on him for having the wherewithal to do that. Because I think sometimes it's hard you have to learn in this business to be a no person, to say no, even sometimes when it's hard to.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, I'm naturally a people pleaser. Like I want to do stuff for people when they ask. I want to make people happy, but I've had to learn a little bit, like, you got to be able to say no. If you want to keep doing this, you got to maintain your work-life balance, and you've got to maintain your sort of creative connection to stuff too. And it's hard when it's always other people's projects. So you're always a hired gun,
And so some of the projects, because you haven't had a lot of time for your own work, I'm assuming some of the projects you're working on is probably like a multiple ask kind of thing, where it's not just a one-off.
I've gotten a lot more TTRPG stuff starting this summer, and a couple of those they were like standing orders. Basically, they were like, okay, here's a batch of things we need drawn. When you turn that in, I'm going to give you another batch of stuff to draw. And I've done a couple of those. And it's like, it can be great because they're a lot smaller, some of them. So you just like, small lines, I can turn those around in like a week, and drawings at the end of that. I get paid, and then I get another batch of drawings, and it's nice. But it does, like, you're waiting for a break to do some other stuff.
Yeah, something different. Yeah.
Did you guys know Justin Bartlett like pretty well, like decently? Like I never had the chance to interact with him at all. It was kind of before my time.
I knew him a little bit. Like, we interacted a bit on Facebook. I never got a chance, when I lived in South Bend, I never got a chance to see him at shows. He wasn't really going to shows in Chicago too much at that point. So when I would go out there, he usually would just say he was staying home. So I never got a chance to meet him in person, but we interacted a bunch on Facebook. He always seemed like a really nice guy.
Yeah. I think I first made contact with him through, it was an underground magazine. It was in the 2000s, but it was, I can't remember what it was called, like Oak something or other. It was like a black metal fanzine. It was really cool. I think he did the layout, and it had like a metallic silver ink on a black craft paper cover. It was really cool. It was really well done. I think that's where I first. Yeah, his graphic design stuff is amazing. In addition to
he really did good stuff with the graphic design stuff.
I want to say I maybe made contact with him around then. I never talked to him, by voice, through the phone or anything like that, but certainly exchanged plenty of emails with him. Was a part of some of the Uber Cult things that he arranged, some of the limited edition print sets that he would do.
Yeah.
I have a couple of his original pieces of art literally to the left of me right here, hanging on my wall. So I mean, it's cool to have that that piece of who he was. It's just a super nice guy. Really funny. He's kind of funny and humorous, but also like really talented. He didn't take himself too seriously, which is cool. He had a lot of humility. But yeah, he's missed. I was going through some art, trying to put some things away, and I found a drawing I did for him while he was fighting his diagnosis, and um, I think he was going to do some kind of limited print set. It was cool because I got to do a piece based and inspired by his art. I never shared it. I've debated sharing it, at some point.
Yeah, I got asked to do a similar thing. He was doing like something that was going to be for like a fundraiser thing. It was like it's going to be a calendar or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah,
but he asked me to do something that was inspired by the concept of cancer.
Okay.
And so I did a piece, and I never shared it or anything. He passed away a few months after I did it. So I never really shared it. But yeah, I got asked to do something similar.
It must have been for the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a zine or a print set, or I can't remember what it was. He was like, I have a bunch of other artists. I remember he wanted to pay me, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
You pay me, like, no way. I was like, that's how like what a kind of guy he was though. Like he was like, so what's your rate? And I'm like, oh no, my rate doesn't apply for this. Let me just I'll get you something as soon as I can.
Yeah, I say, man, I was like, dude, you're not paying me for this. This is to benefit you. I jumped at it. It was fun. I genuinely enjoyed that project, and I was really happy with the result. And it was cool to do something for somebody that was based on who they are as an artist, their visual storytelling. And it's a shame that he was never able to get that off the ground, see it through. I mean, given the circumstances, completely understandable, obviously. But I've thought about, because I think about him every once in a while, and I think, I wonder if I should share that at some point, just to kind of honor his memory. But I haven't had the wherewithal to do it,
Yeah.
Do you have a question from the chat? Orbital Death asks, when you work on art, do you listen to the band's music to get inspired or not? Does it impact your creativity if you do? So I think it means the same band that you're working with.
Who wants to go first on that? You want to go, Lucas?
You go ahead, Mark.
Trying to
put you on the spot.
Not working.
Did you listen to Justin Bieber when you were making the logo?
Yeah, fuck off. No, actually, I don't. I usually don't listen to the band that I'm working for. In fact, I want to say maybe 25-30% of the bands I actually do work for, I actually listen to. And those are my preferred customers, the bands that I actually like and listen to already. I definitely prefer doing that kind of work. There's like, I'll give you an example. There's like a lot of metalcore bands I've done some work for. I don't listen to any of that. Definitely not my taste in metal. But yeah, like if it's an underground band like Sovereign from Norway or somebody like that, like hell yeah, I'm all about doing, or like Horrendous bands like that. I'm all about doing work for because I'm a fan already. Stuff. You know how that is. So, in terms of like trying to get inspired, or I very very rarely will listen to the band that I'm actually doing the work for. I'm usually listening to whatever I happen to be in the mood for at the moment, and that could be anything. Like right now, it's just been a mixed bag of styles. So I'm not. No, I would say no. I don't listen to my customers' music. Some of the bands I've never even heard. The bands that I work for, I've never even listened to them before. So they're just cool to work with, or the project sounds interesting. So those are reasons why I usually will take something. Not so much about the band's music if I don't already know who they are. Hopefully that answers the question. What about you, Lucas? You listen to the bands that commission you?
Typically, no. Same thing. I might occasionally, if they make it a point, be like, we're sharing the we're sharing a rough mix of the new record with you or something like that. They bother to send me like a Dropbox link or something, and I'm not sure where to go. Like, I'm not sure, like, I'm really, at sea as to what vibe I should be trying to get for the piece. I might sit down and listen to a couple of songs just to get a sense of who the band is. But most of the time, the cues are usually pretty visual, and I know the vibe of death metal. Like, I don't need to be told what the vibe of death metal is. So most of the time, I'm a very, I don't know, I can be a very visual thinker like that. So all I usually need is like a couple of words from the client, and I've got enough to come up with an image. All they have to say is like, even like, sick and gross and morbid, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, I know what sick and gross and morbid is. I can come up with, I got like 25 ideas in my head already.
Hell yeah, man.
So that's not, and honestly, the last few years, I honestly don't really listen to music at all while I'm drawing. I kind of gotten to a point where I really like peace and quiet, and I just put on podcasts. I put on the friend simulator, basically the friendship simulator. I let people talk in the room as though they're talking to me, and I just sit there and work, and that's kind of been my preferred milieu to work in. Is like just kind of letting my brain do what it does on a piece without having too much, getting too torqued up. I get too torqued up in the studio. I like to kind of relax.
How about you, Lee? Are you listening to the folks who commission you?
I listened to like one song before starting to get a good sense. If it was an album and it had to do with the lyrics, I would listen to that song. But no, I'm either listening to I'm a big like
Shania Twain fan.
Yeah, Pat Benatar. Nah, dude, I'm either listening to instrumental leaning music, or same kind of thing like podcasts or
like Kenny G.
Yeah, some KG, dude. Dude, I mean, I listen to enough embarrassing shit that's not Kenny G. At least for like metal, taste. Oh, dude. Been on a giant fucking Grateful Dead kick, so I've lost all my metal credit,
Well, I think we showed our Nuevo Testamento stuff. We probably lost our metal cred too. Yeah. Some of the bands will send me Dropbox links and stuff. I don't even listen to that most of the time, just because I'm not in front of my computer.
Only if I don't know what if I'm like really at sea. Like, most of the time I'm not. Most of the time a band's like, I'm either, if I'm not familiar with their sound, I at least get the vibe,
Yeah.
Like, I'll maybe just look up what their other records look like,
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh yeah, this is what I kind of get what they're going for, I think.
Yeah, you can kind of see what they like from other artists and stuff. I'll do that sometimes too.
The thing I always think is like, there's just so much shit to listen to already. It's like, you can't listen to all of it. There's like no fucking way to listen to all of it. So you gotta at some point be kind of picky about how you spend your time. I have limited time to listen to shit, so I'm gonna probably listen to the stuff that I bought, that I spent money on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I'm gonna be listening to music, if I'm gonna spend my time listening to music. I am one of those people, like, I don't like to be doing other things when I listen to music. I like to just sit and just listen to the music.
Oh wow, okay.
And like, not, I don't like it to
like
be
Henry Rollins over here.
Yeah, like I lay down in bed with my headphones on, close my eyes, and just listen to the album. And as I'm like, as I'm getting into my 40s, sometimes that means I fall asleep. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes that means I just fucking conk out. It seems like the heavier the album is, the more likely I am to fall asleep, because whatever reason, I just find it comforting. But that's what I do. I don't like to put it on as background, because I feel like I'm gonna miss something. I'm gonna miss something that I want to hear.
Yeah.
My attention might drift. I don't want my attention to drift. I want to pay pretty strict attention to what I'm listening to. So it's just like, tends to be how I listen to stuff.
So if I may interject, Lucas, at this stage of what you're doing, what are some of the things that you're thinking about?
Yeah. Oh, what I'm thinking about?
Like, in terms of the work, like just kind of talking through some of your thought processes.
Yeah. No, I was gonna be like, yeah, I'm thinking about French toast, like how good that sounds right now. I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about how I wish our house had a garage.
Oh, same, dude.
I'm thinking about how I really miss like the Midwest and having a Midwest freezer, or you have the second refrigerator in your garage for, your meat or whatever. But no, I'm thinking right now, just trying to get this sketch to where, like, the underdrawing to where I feel like I'm thinking about both the details, and I'm also kind of looking at the overall outline to see if it quite has the symmetry or silhouette that I want. And I think it's probably pretty close. I might adjust one of these legs a little bit more, and then I'll probably be ready in a minute or two to start actually putting some paint down on this thing. So we'll see how far I get. But
if you have a second, you pull it closer to the camera. Just, I don't think anybody can really see it well.
Yeah, let me stand right here so you guys can see. So,
dude, that's wicked. That's cool, man.
Yeah, totally cool.
So we'll see. We'll see what I come up with. I'm about ready to start putting some paint on here. I just want to fine tune a few more things.
What are you thinking about, Mark?
So I actually had this this piece in a pretty good place before I started laying down inks this evening. I basically had just my brush, my Sakura, I think I used a medium Sakura. I don't know if you can see that on the screen or not. Brush, brush pen. So I already had my heavy, like kind of like where my high contrast points were going here. So right now it might be kind of hard to see, but I'm breaking in my 01 micron. It's a little blurry. I apologize. My micron pen just to catch some of the details. Similar to kind of like what I did with the other piece. There's, you have this couple of heavy darks of the brush pen, and then going in with the details of the micron. So it's getting there. It's, I want to say I probably have about 40% more to do, maybe 35, and it should be good. Once it's done in this phase, I'll scan it in sometime after the live stream, and then I'll go back in and add my blacks, because I'll have a version with a white background, then I'll do another version of the black background. So I'll put in my Sharpie marker all over this page once I have the white version scanned in. But yeah, so right now I'm just looking at adding some values. I'm mostly, it's going to be hard to see because my camera's a little blurry, but I'm mostly doing some cross hatching. I'm hitting it with a couple stipple elements here and there as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag of ink textures, if you will, but it's coming along. I'm just trying to basically neutralize it by putting some grays in here, so it's not so stark and white. It's coming along. What about you, Lee? What's your thought process right now on what you're working on?
Let's see. All right. So I'm working on the large areas of black.
Oh hell yeah, man!
And just trying to block out these cliffs. Having some rock texture, but in a lot of ways, I just want it to be like really blocky and futuristic. I kind of have a very specific vision of what I want, so I might even black out some of these areas even more. Even they look good now.
What are you using?
Might benefit. I am using DaVinci brush.
Oh,
it's very similar to the Winsor Newton 7. This is a 3. I found, because I have like really small brushes, but I sometimes get a better tip off ones that are like a 3 or a 2. So
yeah.
I'm enjoying this brush right now. This is really nice. Kolinsky hair, I believe.
You're getting some
yeah,
good
it's got a good whip to it, especially on Bristol board.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That looks tight, man. I like the just the negative space you've left in there. Just out of curiosity, is that a face hidden in the clip? Because it kind of looks like a face.
Oh, that there?
The nose and the mouth. Yeah.
It does. No, that's a complete accident, but I'll keep that.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
No, I'll keep that. That's cool.
Okay.
I didn't even see it until you mentioned it.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Looks good, man.
Appreciate it. Anybody in the chat has any questions? I'll be taking a look at it every once in a while. Got 24 people in here. Thank you guys. I don't know what the record is for one of my streams, but it's definitely like close to 30. So 24 is very good. I only thought about 12 people were going to show up. So appreciate that.
I apologize. I posted kind of late too. I got
that helped for sure, man.
Just it gets busy.
Yeah, I totally blanked on that. Totally dropped the ball.
It's all good. We got a question. Do you guys have recommendations for art books? Stuff you'll go back to from time to time for reference? And Punk Bus 1 mentions they have out of step books, which I'm actually not familiar with.
Yeah, I've worked with them before. Out of step. They're cool. Yeah, they do a lot of different kinds of products. I haven't checked their site in a while. Yeah, out of step is a good resource. I'll have to go look really quick because I'm not sure what I have that I referenced. Let me go check really quick. See if I can find something cool.
I mean, I've been just slowly building up my collection of art books, which can be anything from like, books that are dedicated, collections of specific artists, put out by specific artists, to like stuff where it's just like, it's like a regular, maybe even fiction book that just has a lot of illustrations in it. So it goes in my shelf of like stuff to look at. I also get like those like Dover paperback visual library series that they've got. I've got definitely a couple of like
an Art Nouveau one that I have.
Yeah, I've got some like decorative motif books. I've got a couple of arms and armor books. I've got a couple of like anatomy, like skeletons and stuff like that, where I'll pull those out to get an idea or just to get something to look more naturalistic. So there's like the library of like art books is kind of it's kind of what's the word here? It's
like multifaceted.
Yeah, it's very capacious, right? There's like just like a lot of like I use the books as references in a lot of different contexts, basically. That's maybe the way that I would put it,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, similar for me. I mean, I'm a very big collector. I mean, I think about 140 art books at this point. It's an addiction, to be honest. I spend a lot of money on this stuff. So I'm always looking at eBay. It is actually kind of a problem for me. But there are the educational books. So like Bridgman, Hogarth, stuff like that. I'll use those often for like just trying to level up my game. But then just for like inspiration, it comes in a lot of different places. I have a collection of just like, watercolor type books that are just like landscapes and shit like that, because that stuff's just really soothing to me. And then I have a lot of tattoo oriented books because that art style is very, influential on me. So stuff that just speaks to me in a lot of different ways. I just gobble the stuff up. But if you're trying to like get better at your craft, it's all about getting those really good instructor books, I think. And then obviously like watching and learning from the right people. That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I would say my piece of advice for like getting a hold of the books. I mean, I spend a lot of time on like ABE books, like ABE books or whatever, finding stuff, used stuff, a little bit cheaper. I wouldn't say that I have a lot of really expensive things. I don't think I spent more than like $50 on a book in the recent past here. But also like, hit up used bookstores. Any used bookstore is going to have like an art section. See what they've got. I mean, chances are you might get some real scores that you might not be able to find for cheap online, even used.
Yeah,
there used to be a really great used bookstore when I lived in Detroit. Now everybody who like lives in Detroit knows John K. King Books, which is the big huge bookstore that's like 3 stories tall. It's in an old shoe manufacturing warehouse. But there was a bookstore near where I lived that was called Second Story Books, and they were very specifically, they did not look at anything that they took in. So you could do like an estate sale and give a bunch of shit to them, and they would not go on the internet and check what it was. So they would just price it based on like, is it a paperback? Okay, $1. Is it a hardcover? Okay, $15. And so you could, if you were lucky, you could find stuff that might go for a couple $100, and they would very specifically say, we're not checking. Like I remember a lady came in with like her husband's estate, and she wanted them to value her books. And they're like, we don't value books. We'll give you $20 for the box. And so she wasn't too happy about that. She left. I don't think she ended up selling her books then, but I found stuff there that was like, that should have probably been $30, $40, $50. And I got it for like $5 because they don't check things. So sometimes you want those like bookstores where they're like, they're not trying to make a buck that way. You know, they make their money in volume. Basically. They're not like a boutique seller of rare books or anything, you know?
Yeah, I just pulled out a couple things that I find inspiring, sort of old and new. Here's an old one, for example, Dungeons and Dragons. When is this from? I don't even know when this is from. But you know, there's some cool artwork in some of these old products. 84. This one's from 84. You know, so cool filler artwork, which is a lot of fun. So I find that inspiring. Let's see what else I have here. Also, like one of my big go-tos is just checking out some of the old fanzines and just combing through just to get inspiration. A lot of the frame art is really cool on some of these. There's a cool one with the morbid. So I'll use those for inspiration. Here's another cool one. It's actually a newer one. This is what can I think of his name? This is Thomas Westfall. His artwork, it's a fanzine he was publishing. Necromaniac. He's got a lot of this cool artwork in here that he's done. So just, you know, just coming through some of these for inspiration. I just got these from Sawblade. Or I think it was earlier this week. He put out these really cool little mini comics. So those are always fun for just looking at seeing what other artists have in their product line. You know, Skinner, some of his stuff in here. So, you know.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
Skin Crawl, right? Is that what it's called? Or what is it?
Yeah, that's correct. Skin Crawl. And then obviously, you know, Corpse Magazine, or I'm sorry, Cursed Magazine. Tyler's Pub. So this is always fun. I just find books like that, you know, that are kind of a little bit more boutique, and I just find those to be good points of inspiration. Just kind of going through some artists and see what they're putting out.
Got a couple of quick comments, if that's all right. So Marty is here. What's up, man? From Heavy Metallurgy.
Oh, what's up, Marty?
We also got Brain Smasher.
Oh yeah.
And he said, "Hey, Mark, Tanner, I showed off that Dark Tranquility art.
Oh.
Sent him several times. He was so blown away."
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah. I you know, I've had that for a while. So what he's referencing is the demo cover from the band Dark Tranquility. Is it Nicholas Sundin, if I remember correctly, is his name. One of the members from Dark Tranquility. I purchased his original drawing from their I think it's their first or second demo cover, and I had the original for quite a while, hanging in my studio, and I saw. I think it was it Marty? I think Marty was interviewing them, Majesties, the band Majesties, and Tanner was on there. I was like, that dude's clearly a Scandinavian death metal freak. I was like, that dude. I had enough time to enjoy the art, you know, and enjoying having that original. That I'm like, I need somebody else. It's somebody else's turn to enjoy it now, so I pass it along to him because, you know, if anything happens to me, like my wife and kids, they're not going to know what to do with my stuff. So I'd rather be in somebody's hands who understands what it is. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but
Totally.
um,
No, that makes a lot of sense. Man. That's so generous.
it's just, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I already had my time with it. So yeah, it was cool having that. I'm glad he's finding some joy in owning that artwork. It's a really cool relic for sure.
Got a question also. Question: do you guys dedicate time to personal sketchbooks for when you're out of the studio, or do you prefer going straight to the main piece and playing around there? So I think like it's Impish Spite, really good artist. For any of you guys in the chat,
Oh,
look him up on Instagram. He has a really unique style.
cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, what
I
do you
like
guys think?
I like his stuff. I guess it sort of depends. Um, most of the time when I'm doing something on commission, I want to try to I want to sort of maximize my time basically, and so I basically don't want the concept phase to get drawn out for too long. And also, I've noticed that if you present the client with too many choices, they can things can get kind of dicey. So I try to be pretty concise and kind of quick about concept stuff and like working on things in my sketchbook. And then once it's approved, I usually only do maybe 1 or 2 refinements in sketch form before I get to the final piece. I think I feel pretty comfortable with my workflow at this point, that I kind of know what I'm going to get from certain, for certain parts of a drawing or a painting, without having to like do studies or test it out most of the time. So like if I'm going to spend time in my sketchbook, it's mostly going to be on my own stuff, things where I'm like wrestling with a problem that, I have the luxury of months to work at it, which I don't have with a client. I have weeks at most with a client to kind of get something done. So I try to be pretty economical about that stuff. But my own stuff, yeah, I will come up with an idea for an image and then redraw it and then not be able to get to it for months, and then come back and look at my sketch and go like, no, I'm going to redraw it again before I try to take it to final, because I have that time. Like there's nobody breathing down my neck to get it done. It's just for me. So that's kind of my way of dealing with that, I guess. Time is of the essence with commission work, is kind of how I look at it. Time is money, basically. The longer you spend on something, essentially, the less you're making on the piece.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat. I don't really fiddle with doing too much sketching, just because when I get a request, I can only handle so much. So I I try to be ultra efficient. I just send one choice. Here's your sketch. And most of the time it works out. It's fine. The sketch is approved. We move forward. Which is good. It saves time. But there's some stuff where I'm going back to the drawing board a few times. I try to avoid those kinds of gigs if I can, just because between full time work and then parenting, it's just like it's hard to come by time. So I have no other choice but to be efficient and not stew on things for too long. So I'm kind of in the same boat with Luke. It's just a matter of like trying to get it out the door so that you can tackle the next 10 things on your production schedule. And it's not to say that I don't enjoy the process. I do, and I don't like to rush through stuff, but generally speaking, I do work pretty quickly, which helps me along. But also, my work isn't anywhere near as detailed as what Lucas and Lee are dealing with. So there's that too. If you're the kind of artist who wants to put a lot of time in your work, good on you. But then you figure out how to manage your time, and depending on what kind of artist you are. Lee, I know you tend to stew on stuff, man. I see you doing all kinds of studies when you're doing
But
when you're
I
doing.
mean, part of it is like I mean, I feel confident in my work, but I also know, you guys have more experience than me, and I'm humble to that. And when you don't have as much experience, but you want to produce a really good product, for me, it makes sense to incubate, do value studies, like really take my time with it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be producing work that's as good. So it's my method of getting better. You know what I mean? Like you gotta kind of know where you're at in your art journey.
Yeah.
I can say Mark and Lucas are like, some of the best illustrators out there, and they're like in production mode. I'm close to that, and sometimes I can be in that mode, but there's also like taking the time to make sure you're doing some really good shit, so you can turn heads. I think that's worth it instead of speeding through everything. So just kind of being aware of where you're at in your journey is important.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, like, I could be better. I just don't. I want to spend that time. Like, I wish I could spend that time, but I just it's yeah, I'm too distracted by completing
You're
work
in
product.
demand. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing that it is. I mean, I would love to take some time to study and expand my expertise. I yeah, I get, I am in production mode for sure, but there's always going to be artists who are better than you, and that's important because you need artists to look up to as well, and
For sure.
to strive, things to strive for, to push yourself. My problem is, like, I wish I had more time to push myself. I just don't. Maybe maybe when my kids are older, or I'm retired and all that, maybe I'll find more time for illustrating. But right now, it's definitely just that. What's next on the list? How I'll get this off my plate this week, and then it's on to the next. It's just like almost like a how do you what is it, like an assembly line, like a human assembly line.
Well, that prompts a question for me, Mark, that I'm curious. I wanted to ask you this for a while, because sometimes you can be a little like kind of diffident about your work just because you do so much of it, and you work very, very quickly. I do kind of wonder though, because I've seen quite a bit of your work over the years, and there's definitely distinct like phases in your development as an artist. Like, what would
Oh,
you
yeah.
think? What would you say like prompted those evolutions though, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're kind of working very, very quickly and you don't feel you've put a lot of time into, improving your skills, which you definitely have a lot of skills though.
I think that's a good
Like
question.
what would you say is one of the reasons why your work evolved the way it has?
I think a lot of it is being pushed by the tools that I use changed over time, and that made a huge difference for me in terms of the way my work looked, and also repetition with any artist or musician. The more you repeat whatever you're doing, the more efficient and better you get at it. So I think that's part of it too. Also, I think just that having that more mature eye to be able to step away from something and really see what didn't seem like a mistake, or didn't seem incorrect at the time. You can step back at it, look at it again, and be like, yeah, that could have been done differently. Have that moment of self-criticism,
Right.
positive self-criticism, obviously. But I think having that, I think it's important every once in a while to pause and go through some of your old work, whether you're organizing your things or maybe you just want to take a moment to see what you did during the year, the past 2 years or whatever. And I think sometimes looking at your own work too with a new critical eye can reshape how you attack your art. That's a good question. I guess it's not really something I've thought deeply about. But I do see distinct changes over time in terms of
Yeah,
style and
I definitely see them in your work, and so I was always kind of wondering what kind of prompted some of those.
Yeah, I would say the main thing is just the tools, because I used to work in ballpoint regularly,
Yeah,
and
that does make you work a certain way. That
yeah,
definitely makes you draw a certain way.
I think the biggest epiphany was when I started using Sakura brush pens and microns and all that. That made a huge difference, and because it feels different when it hits the paper, and it just the result.
Definitely does.
But yeah. So, and also just looking at what are other artists, being inspired by them and what are they doing, and I think some of that too probably plays into it to some degree as well. Did being a teacher, did that help you a lot, Lucas, in your journey?
Yeah, because I think we're all like really I don't know about you guys, but I'm certainly this way. I'm like, I'm better at giving advice than I am at taking it. But teaching kind of forces you to walk the walk, or walk the talk, basically. Like if you have to teach students how to draw, you need to demonstrate what you want them to do, which means you kind of need to learn some of the skills that you're talking about. And it does make you more careful about your approach, because you have to be able to explain it to people. And it just makes you kind of like feel like I felt a little more pressure to like take my own advice, like, oh yeah, I probably should actually do some of the stuff I tell my students to do. That definitely helps a little bit. Yeah, that's a good observation. I think teaching has had an effect on my work.
I think it also probably, I would imagine, would improves your ability to even talk about your own work, to be able to express your decision making, because I think there's a ton of value in being able to discuss the choices that you made visually, why you make them, and because although some of them might feel like intuition, there's a logic to it, a series of steps that take place to reach a certain endpoint. And I think being a teacher, you're kind of really in that realm and having those conversations with your students and your faculty members, that it forces you to think more critically about why you do what you do.
Exactly. Yeah, that is precisely it.
There's a ton of benefit in that, I feel like.
And in some cases, like, you got to teach something and you're like, man, I've actually never done that. And so I've got to go in and learn that skill before I can teach it.
Yeah.
And that's also really, really helpful, because I've picked up on a lot of stuff over the years from teaching drawing that has actually just helped me be a better like drafts person,
Oh, for sure. I can see that.
No. The other thing I will say, maybe the other side of the coin, like that maybe gets discussed a little bit less. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Is like, there's also a point past which getting better as an artist is, if you're at a certain point skill wise, and I'm not saying I'm there, I have a long way to go for sure, but I definitely think that there are some illustrators out there who are just so freaking good that the idea of them getting better doesn't really make any sense. Like, any improvement to their skill is going to be so incremental that no one's really going to notice it. And so I do think that, like, if my art teacher hat, like, especially like having worked with like grad students, like I would honestly, like, my advice to artists in that area would be to push outside of your comfort zone and actually start trying to relinquish control a little bit. Rather than getting tighter, try introducing more chance into your work. Try finding things that force you to let go a little bit and be less in control of the process.
That's fascinating. I like that idea,
because that can change the way you work too in really, really interesting ways. I think.
Yeah.
There are some people out there who get so tight, and there's like, they almost get to a point where they have like a robotic level of consistency in their work. It's like, you don't want to get to that point. I remember when I was a student, I had a teacher who told me, never let your work get too slick. And that was something that kind of stuck with me. For whatever reason, I really responded to that piece of advice. Like, slickness is like the process has become too automatic for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the work is now so frictionless looking that it becomes like to a point where it's not very interesting. It's just too perfect. And that evidence of like the waywardness of the human hand, like the chance and like your mistakes and stuff, that's what sometimes makes the work interesting to look at.
Yeah, I agree.
So like never let it get too slick. Always let a little slop in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like not hard for some of us. Like, for me, man, it's not hard to let the slop get in there.
Same here, man. My stuff's super loose. I mean, it looks. Yeah, that's great advice. I like that. That's interesting philosophy too, because you look at Picasso, for example, who he has such a wide range of approaches and a style essentially to his work. But maybe part of that was just like that ability to let go a little bit, that give and take of when do I be meticulous, when do I not. And you look at was it the Dadaism movement? Is that what they call it, the Dadaists, where they were doing the chance art? And I mean, that's a real liberating experience, I can imagine, where you're leaving it to chance to and it's funny because it takes away the critical thinking, the critical approach that you might take when you're composing a piece of art. And I think there's some excitement in that.
Yeah, if you're like, I mean, that was one of the things that I actually weirdly, like when I first was in art school, as much as I wanted to learn like tight painting and stuff, I actually spent a lot of time doing collage work when I was in undergrad. I just took to it. It was really, really fun. It was such a different way of working for me than what I was used to.
Yeah.
That I spent a couple of years just almost exclusively working in collage, because the idea of like working with found images basically and like composing stuff out of those found images was like another, you know, I had to let go of the kind of control I wanted in artwork, but I could get such a different kind of product or like different kind of final effect that I found that really, really gratifying. And I found it like a really good little detour to spend a lot of time in collage. Even though it seems like really weird if you think about the kind of work that I make, like why would you spend a lot of time doing collage? But it was just a lot of fun. And I made some really, really cool kind of discoveries from that almost still affects the way that I work to this day.
Yeah, your making is influenced by that. That's fascinating because, yeah, you're right. You don't have control of all the content other than making the decision about what you want to put in, but it's something that's pre-created. It's kind of like found object art too, I suppose. It's sort of similar concept.
Yeah. You're like, you know, you're working with juxtaposition as your primary method of making meaning.
Sure.
Like what you put next to something else becomes the way that it becomes meaningful.
Right.
And that to me was so interesting as a way to work that, you know, I feel like I learned a lot from it, and it was, you know, to a lot of people that would be like a detour, you know, but to me it was really a necessary place for me to go for a couple of years, you know.
Did you find that when you were working in collage, your focal point, I think in a way it probably would force you to look at color differently?
Oh yeah.
And like, how do you pair the colors up? And in addition to that, texture. How do you find that visual harmony in a piece when you're dealing with found product? I think it does force you to look at those things more closely than you would if you just picked up a brush or a pen.
Yeah, exactly. It makes you think about, like, again, what you're putting next to how you're creating like rhythm and moments within a piece.
Right.
So yeah, exactly.
What were you using? Were you just like rubber cement or glue sticks or?
I liked PVA, which is bookbinder's glue, polyvinyl acetate.
Oh, okay.
So you can find it at pretty much any art supply store, and it comes in like a bottle. It's almost kind of like Elmer's, but the thing about it, because it's bookbinding glue, it stays flexible forever.
Oh.
So it's very, very like nice and tacky. It's easy to control with a brush. I used to like, what I would do is I would put like a bunch of it in a cap, like in the you know, I'd have like a cap for something, whatever, like a pop bottle or something. I put a bunch of it in a cap, and I would like let it sit and like tap up for a couple minutes before I started using it, so it wasn't too wet. Because I used a lot of magazine paper, you know, book. Like I would go to like used bookstores and look in their you know, free to take section and just pull textbooks. I was looking at a lot of science stuff for my collages, so I was pulling a lot of science imagery from old biology textbooks and things like that, physics textbooks, whatever I could get a hold of. And that paper can be, you know, some of it can be pretty cheap, and so you want something that's not going to like warp the paper too much with wetness. And I found that the PVA, the fact that it stayed flexible, meant that you could like roll. I did like some pretty big collages. I did like some 6 foot and larger collages on paper.
Damn, dude. Did you say 6 feet?
6 feet, yeah. So they had to be rolled up to take them anywhere. And so the fact that the glue was flexible let you roll it up without, it wouldn't stick to itself or anything. It's a nice, convenient way to move stuff around.
And
yeah, I used to do a lot of really, really big shit when I was in art school. I did
okay.
I had a drawing for my first semester of grad school that was like, I don't know, a 9 or 10 foot tall drawing. It took me all freaking semester to do.
Dude,
But that was like, you know, in grad school, I could spend all semester on one fucking drawing, you know?
God damn, man. Did you
I don't have
say
time for this.
Did you say pop? Do you mean soda?
Yeah, I'm from Michigan. That's what we call it there. It's fucking pop, man. You buy your fucking Faygo, it's red pop. Why is it called red pop? Because that's what we call it. Call it fucking pop.
We in Georgia.
I always say pop. I always say pop sounds like something that you drink, whereas soda sounds like a chemical. Like I don't want to drink soda. Bicarbonate of soda. Like what the fuck are you talking about?
What do they call it in Georgia?
When they call it
Coke?
soda, but I was born in Michigan. My family is from Ohio, so like I kind of have a.
We're in Ohio.
We talked pop growing up.
Oh
yeah,
we're in
pop
Ohio.
is the way, man.
We're in
So
Ohio.
I was born in Lansing, but Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland area. Okay. Huh. I was born in Louisiana.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
My good buddy Justin, when I was at Notre Dame, was from Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
He was a good guy. He's a printmaker.
Oh, cool.
Really talented printmaker.
Very cool.
He was definitely a good old boy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was a fun dude. Like he was a fun dude. Like I don't mean in a bad way. He was definitely from. He's from quite a rural area.
Yeah. Yeah. My family's mostly from Northern Virginia area, but I was born there and when my dad was in the Air Force, so.
Oh, okay.
Anybody got anything to say about their pieces? What stage they're at, or anything new there?
I'm still just getting the first layer down on this of pigment, so not much to report. I don't know how much I'm really going to get done today. This might have been kind of an ambitious piece for 1 2-hour session.
Yeah,
but I'll get there. I mean, I'm going to finish this piece. I'll show everyone will get to see the final product.
Yeah,
it's not for a commission or anything. So
demonstration to our
clients constantly be like, "Don't you dare share this. It has to be a complete secret until we're ready." I've always wanted to ask: do they really think that sells more records to do that?
I don't know.
I really don't think it sells more records. I think it's just like an ego thing, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I never
did. We want to have a big, wonderful, like a reveal, like it's like, you know, I don't know what that is.
It's baby.
I feel like teasing it for a while would probably get people to be more interested in it, but whatever.
Yeah, I whenever I would do a release, I would just drop it whenever it was out of the manufacturing plant, everything was ready to go, and no pre-order, nothing, and I just never bothered. I don't know. To me, it's not a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know why some of the labels and bands are so secretive about their new product. I'm not really sure why.
What you, Lee? Where are you at? I can't see what anyone's doing, but I figure I can ask the question. Where are you at?
I'm blocking in these shapes. I think it looks pretty cool, actually.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good on it. Man, I just love the feeling of a brush. And
is that white ink or is that just a negative space?
Negatives.
Oh, man, that's amazing.
Thank you.
Dude, that's the control you have on that brush. So if you hold it up again real close, Ellie, show me that little section right there, dude. Like just down a little nodule pointing out of that piece of machinery or building, whatever that is, that little spike coming out the top. Dude, your ability to get around that and hit that's not easy, man. You gotta have a lot of control to do that. That's
Yeah.
nicely done. I mean, it looks like a, when you did, but you didn't touch any white ink or any. It's all negative. That's really impressive.
At least this go around. I mean, I'll definitely use that trick. You know, I'll
I,
bring out the white paint pen and shit. But
yeah, but for right now, I mean, you're doing a good job of having to away from it. I like that the heavy black that you have popped in there to really anchor it in the bottom right corner there. Just in general, that all those heavy darks really help anchor the piece and give it some weight at the bottom. It's nice.
appreciate it.
Nicely done, man.
Thank you guys in the chat. Really appreciate it.
So, Lee, what was your favorite part of your trip to Japan? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I realized we didn't really talk about that. Can you guys hear me okay when I'm like this?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah, my mic's kind of weird and me trying to do the paint inking and stuff. So I went to Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Nara, and this place called Takayama, which is in the mountains.
Oh, cool.
My favorite was Osaka. Just had the best food, and people are a little more like laid back there. Like Japan's awesome. I mean, I just realized how different it is from any Western country, being there.
Yeah.
Because the culture is very different. In some ways, it's like very conservative. But like in I think a productive way. Like people are very polite. But like Osaka is just a little bit more laid back, but it still is a very, very big city, and it's known for being, one of the best food spots in Japan, and definitely didn't let me down there. But yeah, dude, I mean, it was 12 days out there. It was a 14-hour flight.
Oh,
which wasn't too bad. It could be a lot worse. But anyone who wants to go there, it expands your horizons quite a bit, and it's very easy to get around, even if you don't know any Japanese.
Okay.
Actually,
English
it's better
everywhere.
if you don't. It's actually better if you don't know any Japanese.
Yeah, I would.
My grandmother's is Japanese. She was born in Tokyo, and when she went back just before I was born, she said that when she spoke Japanese to people, they just ignored her, like she knew where she was going. So she pretended that she didn't speak any Japanese, and that's how she got people to help her. People want to try their English out on you too, like they want to speak English to you. So my brother spent a year there too, and it was the same thing. Like he taught English. People want to try their English out. Like he made up he made his money while he was there. Like people would take him on like weekend skiing trips and stuff, so they could speak English to him.
Oh damn!
Like he was basically paid to be people's friend.
That's
so
a
like it's better. It's
there.
better if you don't speak much Japanese if you're there, from what I understand. Like my grandmother said that. My brother said it's better if you don't speak much Japanese because people are much more enthusiastic to help you if you only speak English.
Do they have any interesting things in their vending machines? Did you check the vending machines there, Lee?
It was mostly like drinks and stuff, but they're everywhere. There's also those you put a quarter in or whatever, the currency, the yen, and then basically you turn it and you get these little capsules. Those were everywhere. Those were really cool. I got like some like little Dragon Quest figures.
Okay.
I had one of those, which I've always loved those video games.
Yeah, my daughter is really into Hatsune Miku. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a Vocaloid character. She's into that stuff right now.
When I taught at PCAD, that's what the students were really into, is like Vocaloid stuff. I asked them what their favorite kind of music was, and they're like Vocaloids.
And you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I'm just like, what? That sound, and they explained it to me like, well, that sounds insane. Okay.
It sounds like Alvin.
I'm like, I'm looking at them and I'm like, I like Slayer. So you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. It's like Henry Rollins was right about that. He said that years ago that like we were going to be the last generation who we were going to be the first generation whose like the kids' music was way less scary than the music we listened to.
Oh yeah.
He's kind of freaking right about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
my parents were terrified of the death metal stuff when I was into it, you know, and they were like convinced it was just going to be a phase, and
yeah,
you know, and then like the kids listen now, I'm like, oh yeah. First of all, I feel like I heard all of this in the '90s already, and second of all, it's not scary.
Yeah, Lucas is working.
I'm more just annoyed by it. Showing my age. The old man yells at not scary cloud.
Are you guys both considered Gen X then?
Yeah.
I don't think I am. I was born in 1981. I was born in 81, which is like kind of, it's like contested territory. Some people say that makes me an elder millennial, and some people say that makes me Gen X. And I've heard other people say it's called the lost generation. If you're born between 79 and 81,
Wow.
you're like,
what do you feel?
You're like a different generation. I don't know. I feel like I'm a millennial. That's what I feel like, but I don't know.
I was born in '76, so I'm definitely a Gen Xer. What generation are you, Ree? You're not? Are you?
I'm a pretty firm millennial.
Yeah,
like right in the middle there.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're in your 30s.
Yeah, I'm 33.
Baby.
Yeah.
No. You are baby. You are baby.
So for people in the chat, you guys drawing along with us, or you just, creeping on us? What are you doing? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, you're gonna have to set up like a Patreon for feet pics if that's what people are after. Mine are gonna be $60 a pop, just so you know.
Mine are free because my feet are nasty.
I think they pay more for that.
Yeah, dude, know your worth.
Yeah, you got to know your audience too. Like they'll pay more for the nastier the feet are.
I'm a terrible businessman. Oh man.
Oh man.
Do you guys have any commissions you can talk about that are on your I know you guys were talking about it before we were live. I missed your conversation. I apologize. You guys working on anything cool that you can talk that you're allowed to talk about that's not super secret?
Yeah, I don't think so. At the moment I don't really think so. It's right now it's just TTRPG stuff, and it's great. It's fun. It's fine. I like it. It's nice having some of those jobs where you kind of have like a standing order.
Yeah.
The work, it can be kind of comforting to have the work be kind of steady, where it's like, it's a bigger project, so you turn in work, you get paid. You have more work, you turn in more work, you get paid.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I find it like right now I'm still kind of in that honeymoon phase where I find it fun to see my stuff in books.
Oh hell yeah, man.
Like
that never
album covers are great. Like I love seeing my stuff in print, but books are still novel to me. Like the fact that my shit is in books is pretty cool.
Dude, I just saw your Oxygen Destroyer art on a skateboard. Did you know about that?
Yeah, that's my first fucking skateboard. I'm really pleased about that.
Man.
They're like getting some good mileage out of it.
I will
say this. I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble from Jordan for mentioning it, but he wants to do an action figure at some point.
Oh hell yeah, man! That'd be cool.
So for I could probably I'll just say like we redid the first two LP covers recently. So those are going to be coming out eventually. They're a re-release, and we designed, because like Toho Studios is a lot more litigious than the studio that owns Gamera. We had to we couldn't put Godzilla on the album covers. We had to make up like a fake Godzilla. But we spent a lot of time kind of designing him. So he's kind of badass, and we want to do it like Jordan wants to do an action figure of the Oxygen Destroyer Godzilla. We call him Oddzilla because he's OD-Zilla, Oxygen Destroyer Zilla.
That's
awesome. So there might be that coming out at some point. We haven't really sat down to do it. He's got a lot kind of other shit on his plate right now. But
that does make sense.
that will eventually happen.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now that
Don't
would
want to
be,
get sued.
but that would be a unique thing to have in your portfolio. You know?
I've always wanted to do an action figure, man. I've wanted to do like monster toys since I was a kid, so that would be really fun to do.
Hell yeah, man, that'd be awesome. I don't know the process involved in that.
I don't know the process either. I think what I'm assuming you have to do is come up with a maybe a 4-point or even an 8-point, series of like perspective drawings of the thing.
Okay, sure.
Like, and maybe a top and maybe a bottom, and then like a sculptor will then take those drawings and do a 3D sculpt with it.
Yeah, I've got this this Vince Locke. I mean, this is like, I don't know if you can see it. That Cannibal Corpse figurine. Vince Locke's artwork. Can't remember what album it was. Torture, I guess.
Torture.
But yeah, I
Nice.
grabbed that. I thought it was pretty cool. But that's an example of, it's Vince's art, but now it's a product.
Right.
I don't think it does his artwork justice, in my opinion, but it's still pretty cool to see that and come to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that skateboard. Are they gonna hook you up with one? Is Pull the Plug gonna send you a deck?
I haven't asked. I should probably ask them.
Yeah, that'd be good for your portfolio, man.
It'd be pretty sick to have a deck.
Yeah, and that looked like the back was stained green, which is really cool. Matched the artwork and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, really nice.
I just picked up another. I think you did it hasn't arrived yet, but I think you did the cover, Lucas. The is it Molder? Did you do the new Molder?
Not the new Molder. I did the previous one.
Oh,
the one that came out a few years ago.
Okay, I've seen that one. Who did
the new one is a different artist. I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm blanking on it. Really talented fellow.
Yeah, they got a good. He's a painter, another painter.
Oh, okay, my bad. I apologize. I thought maybe that was one of your pieces. I wasn't sure.
No,
I don't have it yet, so I just saw it in passing and picked it up. I didn't look closely enough at it, nor did I see
no worries. No worries.
All right, I think I'm done with this for right now. Almost done. Yeah.
Show it.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Might be kind of hard
so
to see.
Quick, man.
There's some detail in there, but it's just trying to keep it in line with the other piece, in terms of how texture heavy it is. So yeah, it's close. I think I'm gonna just add a couple more minute little details, and then I'm just gonna knock out a logo really fast after this that I've been meaning to get to. Yeah, I think doing a tutorial would be really cool. I haven't had an opportunity like that fall in my lap, but I think that, or like doing a monster mask or something like that would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. I've always wanted to do something like, actually like work with like an effects studio and like design a monster that they, turn into like a movie monster. It's another dream,
Yeah, that'd be pretty badass.
To work with an effects guy to like come up with something that could be turned into a badass suit or something,
Yeah.
Badass rubber suit.
Word for trauma or something. That'd be kind of cool.
I watched the trauma film last night, man. I'm trying to remember. Nukem High 2, I think is what it was.
Oh, nice.
Classic
Nukem High.
Yeah, it was just a kind of on a whim. I usually don't watch films like that, but I was trying something a little different.
Dude, I wasted fucking an hour of my life watching the Paul Tyson fight. The worst fight I've ever seen.
Same here. I've never watched the fight either. That was the first one I've ever watched.
The women's fight right before though was awesome. That was a great fight.
Yeah, I now I know why I don't watch that stuff because it's just like
Oh
I don't
god,
know,
it was
man.
so bad.
It's just I don't find it interesting. I watch football. That's the only sport I watch.
What's your team?
Washington. Of course, they've had some bad some bad years in the recent decades, but they're picking up pace finally.
Hey man, I'm a Detroiter, so you know what? Nobody gets to talk about how bad their team is.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Lions. Yeah, I mean, the Lions are great.
There's no more dedicated fan out there than a Lions fan.
Hell yeah, man.
Or Browns fan.
Yeah, or Browns. Yeah, yeah. The Lions are looking good right now.
I wouldn't know. I don't really pay much attention.
Are you a Browns fan, Lee?
No, I'm not a huge. I mean, I like football. I like watching with my family, but
Yeah.
I don't do it at home or anything.
Okay.
It's very much like a social thing, but somebody
Yeah.
else initiates it. You know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Mark's doing a logo now.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird name. It's UGH exclamation point. Like, ugh. It's the weirdest
PUBG Warriors,
I
label or something.
dude, it's underground hires or something. I don't quite get it, but they proved it's a quick turn kind of thing. Um, I just usually when I do a logo, I'll do multiple, fill up a sheet with like little thumbnail sketches. This one I just went with like a simple black letter inspired type work because it's more or less an acronym, I suppose. But this is I think it's like it's not really a label. It's more of it caters to the metal community, but it's more of something like I don't know if you guys know Pirates Press. Pirates
Fire
Press.
Press?
Not Pyre Press from Pittsburgh. It's Pirates
Oh.
Press. They do records, vinyl.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
They're kind of like a broker, like an American broker for GZ Digital Media. GZ Media publishes the bulk of the vinyl you get on the market. They're a major manufacturing plant for vinyl in the world, and they're based out of Czechia. So Pirates Press is kind of like their American storefront. This is kind of like a middleman kind of thing too. That I guess will cater to the heavy metal community, I assume. So anyway, it's not really a label, but I guess it's just something that they will have to with for their own personal branding, which is fine. Just this is just like a little quick favor thing, so it shouldn't take too long to execute this one. I just had it kind of on the back burner because I kept getting distracted by other things.
Anybody has any questions, I'll be periodically looking over. When are you gonna bust out that blow dryer?
What's up? I did, but I turned the mic off so you guys didn't have to hear it.
Oh.
Oh,
Because otherwise, you want to listen to this? What do you want to listen to?
Yeah, do it. Sounds like metal music, I bet.
it's actually not that bad.
Sounds like Vocaloid music.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
There you go. Are you not entertained?
Is it working okay?
Yeah,
Is it
it is
dry?
actually helping. It is speeding it up a little bit.
Dude, you know what your style kind of reminds me of, Lucas, especially when I see you painting like that. Drew Elliott. Are you familiar with Drew Elliott?
I don't know the name off the top of my head.
Have you seen
What's he done? What's he known for?
Amorphous? I think they're 7-inch EP when they first came
Did
out.
the new Blood Feast, I think.
Yeah, he's been doing stuff for Blood Feast for a long time.
Okay.
Also, Necrophagia, Season of the Dead.
Okay.
What else? Agoraphobia. Some
Okay.
stuff for them. And a lot of like the early Metal Blade releases from the late 80s.
Yeah, I've probably seen stuff in that case.
Yeah, your style reminds me, like kind of like what you're working on now in particular. Just the way you draw your skulls and paint them and stuff kind of reminds me a little bit of his style, which is cool. It's kind of got that old school vibe to it,
Nice. Oh, I appreciate that. I don't know how much longer this is going to look like this once I start adding different stuff to it. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to start getting some darks down. Start actually making this have a little bit more of a sense of volume.
So what colors do you usually use for getting darks with your watercolor? Like what's in your palette?
Honestly, right now I'm literally just mixing ivory black into my ochre, and then putting a little bit of yellow back into it. That's it. Nothing special. Nothing fancy.
You guys ever get too hasty with your eraser and end up streaking all your ink all over your paper?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Honestly, I've gotten to a point where unless I have to send the physical, like unless the client's buying like the physical piece,
yeah,
I don't erase anymore at all. I don't erase my pencil marks out at all because they just disappear in Photoshop. I don't even have to do anything. When I run like a threshold filter or when I run levels, like they just kind of disappear anyway. So I don't bother to erase anymore because I'm so sick of smudging my inks and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's a step I just skip now. I just skip it. Unless they're buying the original, in which case I go through and I only erase out what I see that's visible.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't do any more than that. I don't see a lot of purpose to it.
Are you selling a lot of your originals?
This year I have been. I have a couple of collectors who've been repeat buyers this year.
Oh, okay.
A really nice dude in Poland has bought a couple pieces from me.
Cool.
There was a guy in the UK. There's a guy who collects fantasy, like RPG art, who bought a couple of Shadow Dark pieces off me this year.
Oh, dude, that's really cool.
Yeah, which is really neat because I mean, I know he's supposed to be kind of known for his collection, so like there could be some really cool pieces alongside it. He was really, really proud of. He sent me pictures of the stuff framed.
Dude, that's awesome.
Very, very, very pleased. And I got a couple of private commissions from people who just wanted something to hang in their game room or something, and so they just commissioned me to do just a private piece. So there was no licensing involved or anything.
Yeah.
We just did a regular purchase agreement, so that's fun too. But that also means like I can still license the piece, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
They didn't get any kind of rights to it, so they got the original, but I can still do something with that piece.
Yeah.
So I kind of like those too. It's been kind of fun knowing that there's some pieces out there just kind of hanging on people's walls.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I enjoy that. Yeah, I want to my goal is to get to like the point like like Brad's like sells every single original he does. He sells to something like collectors. I get to that point. That's kind of nice to every piece you do, you get to sell twice, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't sell my stuff very often. Every once in a while I will, but it's I don't know. I guess part of it's like I just don't have the time to like prep it and put it up. You know what I mean? Put it somewhere so people can buy it, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just haven't really thought too hard about it yet. Maybe down the road I'll start doing that
Yeah.
more a little bit.
It's like I'm very lucky in that my partner, she runs a gallery, and she's done a lot of work in art museums and things like that. And she's very,
Cool.
very, very skilled and experienced in art handling and shipping.
Oh,
So
okay.
she packs all my stuff, and she
Dude,
does like a really professional job packing my work and shipping it. So it's
that's awesome.
kind of built into our lifestyle almost, to be able to just sell the work. And I did
Yeah.
used to sell work when I was just a studio artist. Not much, but I did sell a few pieces here and there to collectors. So that's like when you're like just doing studio work, it's almost one of your only ways to make money off your work is by selling the originals to people. So
Sure.
it's always been something I've thought about, is like, well, you got to make it so that you can also sell the original to somebody. Like, I honestly don't know what those digital guys do.
I
I
was
know that they can sell
wondering.
prints and shit, but it's like people want like the original still has an aura to it, And when
Yeah.
there's no original, like there's nothing to sell. I like
It's
that
like
I can still also make prints of my work, but I've also got this physical piece that I can kind of charge a premium for that people want because it's the only one.
yeah. Yeah, I wondered about that too. You do lack that human touch when you see the. And I don't have anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with people going digital
Right.
by any means, but there is that added value in terms of being able to have that duplicate the sale of the finished piece, essentially, like you suggested. But also, is it really art? Is it just pixels or megabytes on a hard drive somewhere? It's not
Yeah.
a living product.
Like I very much understand it from a convenience perspective for
Oh
sure, like a
yeah,
speed perspective. I guess I'm like very much I like there to be a physical something, like there to
yeah,
be a. And people, like I said, collectors seem to like that there's originals to buy. That's what they want. That original.
yeah.
You read your Walter Benjamin when you were in school. The aura of the original. It's still there. It's still there for people, even in the age of digital reproduction.
Yeah.
Maybe more so.
We got a
Maybe more so.
question. Lucas, have you used any of the Citadel miniature paints in your work much or at all? With some of these wash/recess paints, I think the hues would look great with watercolor.
I have not. I have not even thought of that. I just am using my Winsor and Newton watercolors, and I'm pretty happy with those. I haven't thought about using like miniature paints.
Hmm.
I guess I'd have to
That's
look
just like
into it.
acrylic, isn't it?
It's just acrylic. I mean,
Isn't
yeah.
that
I
what a
mean,
miniature paint is?
so what I've wanted to get into acrylic painting as an alternative to oils. So I've kind of had to put the kibosh on doing oils for a little bit. I just don't have a real good way of. I don't have a real great setup for working on them. And after last year when I did a whole bunch of oil paintings, I was like, I have to do something else because it's not something I can sustain with my like cleanup setup and my just I don't have great ventilation and stuff, so it's not something I wanted to do a lot of. And I wanted to get into acrylics as an alternative to doing oil painting, but I just haven't really had the time to invest in a whole new set of media. You know what I mean? But I do want to get to it at some point. I'm definitely on board with that. I don't know if that's the acrylics I would start with. I'm familiar with like Golden and some of the other ones from being a studio artist. I have messed with some of those other acrylic paint brands, but I guess I could look into the miniature paints as well.
Cool.
one thing I really love about watercolors is that the setup is just so casual, and that's such a different experience than painting in oil. I find there's a lot more immediacy to painting in watercolor, which allows me to kind of get into the parts that I love most about a painting a lot quicker. Whereas with oil paint, it always felt like I was messing around in the early stages that I enjoy a lot less for a lot longer. Like my paintings are always looking awkward and bad for a lot longer than they do in watercolor. And if you ask any painter, one of the things that we hate the most is like the awkward phases of our paintings. It just makes you hate yourself and make you think you're a bad painter, that you have no business being an artist, and you spend like weeks in that phase on a work. Awful. It's like just fucking terrible.
It's awful.
But when I'm doing like watercolor painting, I only probably spend like an hour in that phase. Like that looks like shit. It looks like shit, and I hate it. And then, like, you know, a little while later, I'm like, oh, it's the best thing I've done so far. What do you know? So even right now, like the application of the watercolors is a little bit like kind of blotchy, but a lot of that will go away once I start to introduce more contrast into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of those things that's kind of magical is like when there's not a lot of contrast, the blotchiness is noticeable. But once I start to get really dark darks in there, a lot of these like color areas will start to look a lot more even, just because there's a different frame of reference. So you just have to trust the process with this stuff, and you have to be willing to get dark. Like people don't really sometimes get very dark with their watercolors, but I'm someone who, like, in the later phases, I use a lot of just straight black, like not mixed with anything, just freaking black. And I find that I get really, really great effects. You know, as long as you're willing to get the contrast where it needs to be, you know. I don't know why this skull has all of his teeth, but that's just kind of how this turned out. I usually make them missing some teeth, but this time around, this guy went to the dentist regularly before
Got a full set.
before he was turned into an undead, you know, sculptula, cosmic horror sculptula from the Ocarina of Time.
Do you think part of the reason why you're adding the darks is you're struggling to let go of the illustrator in you?
No, it's just part of the process. It's just you need to get the contrast up to make the painting look
more.
It just helps you get to the point of having it look naturalistic. Right?
So you're using less water as you get to your darks. You're using less water.
Yeah, I'm using less water. I'm using more straight pigment. When I get to the final phases, I'll actually just use this ivory black out of the tube instead of my pan colors.
Oh, okay.
Just a tiny little bit of water to move it around, and I'll use probably my thinnest brushes.
Huh.
But now I'm starting to have, this is where it's starting to get fun. Like when I start to be able to get like extra layers of value in there, it starts to feel a lot like a lot of fun for me.
Some of the postings you did on social media with your watercolor pieces look absolutely phenomenal, man. Just the sense of depth you create with the watercolor, and I think it's because you're piling on so many layers and adding those darker hits. It looks super painterly. It doesn't look like a watercolor painting to me by the time you're done with it. Some of them look almost photorealistic. In my opinion.
Thank you. I thank you.
I know you don't strive for that, but that's sometimes the result is just incredible how convincing it looks.
That makes me happy to hear that. I can never tell. I'm like always I think we're all probably that, but I'm always my worst critic. Alex will be like, oh, it looks really great. And I'll be like, it's all right. It's not bad. I guess I don't hate this one.
I love that one that's it's kind of like Middle Earth and there's that reflection in the water that you did. That's one of my favorites.
The one with like the entrance to
door?
like it's like a big mouth.
Yeah, I love that one.
Thank you. That was a piece where I was really intimidated by that piece when I started it. Because it was like such a complicated like landscape, and I was like, I haven't really done it that complicated of a landscape, but I don't know. Once I started digging into it, it was like it kind of went really, really easily. I actually kind of, for whatever reason, I get into watercolors, and even if I start out intimidated, by the time I really start to get into it, I'm like, oh no, this is fine. I actually really enjoy the process here. I find it very relaxing, and I just find that I just enjoy the process of it so much that I kind of forget myself. I don't get too anxious about it. And that one came out really, really nice, and was really, really fun to do. But at first, I thought maybe I'd bitten off more than I could chew because the pencil drawing for that was pretty intense. The underlay for all that foliage and stuff. But once it's one of those things. That's like once you're not working with contour line anymore, everything actually kind of simplifies a little bit and it becomes easier to work with. So yeah, I can't wait to do more of those. I'm really excited to get a little bit more time in the next couple months. I'm definitely going to be taking on less commissions next year.
Oh,
I have so many personal projects I want to do, and full disclosure, I'm totally raising my prices. I've needed to do a price overhaul for a while, so prices are going up next year. So hopefully I can do a little bit less commission work and have more time work on stuff that I've been really wanting to do, and that means a lot more watercolor painting.
Have you thought about getting into? I thought maybe you mentioned it before in the past about your own branding too, like in terms of having.
Yeah, actually, Mark, after we're done, I wanted to ask you about something. I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I've been struggling with my own branding for a while, and so I wanted to run something by you.
Yeah,
but that's for after we'll talk a little bit after we're done here.
That's cool.
Mark, if you did want to cut it around 11, we're getting close to that time.
Are we?
Is it 11 already?
Oh yeah, we are. Okay, yeah. Wow, time freaking flies.
I mean, I'm doing okay, but I want to stick to what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, this is looking nice. I'm actually kind of liking how this is coming out.
Yeah, it's starting to.
You guys like this that I got the mouth inside the mouth.
Dude, that's insane. I like your color choices.
Yeah, I think they worked out.
Wow.
I tried to just think about it in my head. Like I was like, I didn't want to get too
pull that close again. I'm sorry. I want to take a closer look at that. Dude, that's amazing. Oh yeah, the mouth inside the mouth. That's wild. Dude, that's really cool, man. I like it's almost like a two-tone. And then you left some white in there for the highlights. Nice.
Yeah, just a little bit. I might end up having to go back over that later.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's always a push and pull with painting. Like sometimes you make a choice early on about what a value is going to be, and then you have to either darken it or you need to drop a high key highlight on top of it. That's what this gouache is for.
Oh, is that what you're using, or using watercolors? Is it gouache?
It's watercolor.
Oh,
watercolor,
okay.
and then I'll go in with a little bit of gouache to.
Oh, okay.
Just do the highlights. That's
I see.
So it's like 99.9% watercolor and like 0.1% gouache.
Okay.
That's not a bad place to stop. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to tip these claws with black. I mean, they're going to have little black nails coming out of them.
That's nice.
A lot of this stuff is going to get darkened. Like a lot of the stuff that's white will probably get a little bit of a wash over it just so it's not dead white. But from this point on, I'm going to probably be going in and start to work in the details. Like I'm going to have to get a smaller brush out and start bringing in much darker colors to get some detail and some texture going on. But it's in a good spot. This is a good start for a watercolor for me.
Yeah, it looks awesome, man.
These are where it's at.
All right. Let's everybody show their work, and then rotate the cameras back to normal.
Yeah. So
right.
how about you go first, Lee?
All right. So, and I'll show you guys once you can see it as well. Yeah, we got this kind of like space station and to a cliff. We got a little astronaut kneeling outside on this cliff with the I mean, there's a lot going on here. That's his fighter type spaceship.
Rad.
But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good on it.
You got a lot done on this thing.
Yeah, man. That looks really cool.
Thanks, man.
Damn.
I'm going to use like a smaller pen. I got all the big parts blocked out and kind of afraid to erase part of these pencil lines. But yeah, I think it'll turn out pretty solid. And I might do some marker on it if I want to make sure it doesn't bleed. But it's on Bristol board, so I won't do any watercolor. But yeah, I achieved what I was looking for.
Looks
Nice.
awesome.
Thanks, guys.
A lot of movement and motion in that for just having heavy blacks laid down, you know,
Appreciate it.
thicks and thins and all that. It's really well done.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a nice sense of light. There's a nice sense of form.
Thank you. All right. Let's get one more look on yours there, Lucas.
Yeah, so this is where I'm at. Basically, I'm kind of like almost 2 layers in. I probably need to do a second layer on some of these legs here, just to get a little more value to them. But I'm not, I got a good second layer on the skull. So I'm in a really good spot with this. Like it just, just a matter of continuing to add darker values to create a sense of volume. And, I'm just kind of going like my light source is just, it's going to be kind of just top lit. So it's kind of not real dramatic lighting or anything, but sometimes you don't need that when you've got, you got this much kind of going on your picture plane. So yeah, I'm in a pretty good spot with it so far.
It looks
Feel
awesome.
good about it.
All right. And then, Mark, you want to show the 2 things you were looking at?
Yeah, I'm just getting close. I'm gonna do a little border around the letter form.
Oh, good.
And I'm gonna hand letter the typography down here, so it's not so sterile. Have some more underground look to it. And this is where I landed on the back of this product.
Nice.
The front.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
So
I love that.
you see these, especially around Halloween time, you see all those garments with the skeletons front and back on it. So this is, I see so much of that. I had to do my own take on it, It's just
That's
not
rad. I love that.
too derivative. It's got my own touch. I don't know if you can see this. This might be too, it's probably not enough light.
Yeah, it's not showing up.
Blue line print of my next piece, but anyway, that one should be fun. Anyhow, yep, yeah, it's a good time. Good fun drawing with you guys.
Yeah.
It's easy to get into a flow state. Felt like this was a very chill one. The last time we were doing, the 5-minute drawings, it was like the whole thing, which was fun in its own regard. But this one was very laid back, and I enjoyed that. Well, cool. Any final words, guys?
No, thanks
for tuning in.
Yeah,
and thanks for having us, Lee, and for setting this up.
Ditto. Yeah, thanks for folks chiming in, and whoever watches this once it lives on your channel, it's cool too. All of us appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you everybody in the chat. It's been a ton of fun. Really appreciate it, guys. See you next time. Should have an episode out on Thursday. It's an interview with Richie Beckett out of Wales. Really good artist. Anyways, see you guys. Logging off.
Rad.